Ryan Tempest, good luck titling this one. I give you no suggestions. Title it wow, 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 wow. Title it that. See if that hits in the algorithm. People will love that one. The YouTube channel that is responsible for me having a crack pipe in my in one of my OBS scenes, What If Alt History, recently came up with a new video. It's called Why Communism is a Failed Religion. Which, by the way, to be clear, that's a take that I could agree with if we were talking about communism, like Soviet-style communism. Communism, right? Obviously not communism. Right. Communism. And, you know, the minute's 50, or sorry, the video's 50 minutes long. I can't watch all this, but I have heard from an insider that apparently in this video at some point, he talks about / copes over the quote-unquote debate that I had with him. And I was wondering if any of you knew when that timestamp began, because that's something I'm curious about. That's what I want to know. I'm not watching 50 minutes. You can't make me. I won't do it. Because he does this thing where he has all these, like, boomer, like, political comics he throws in there. And then every once in a while, when words fail him, he'll add text. Please do it. No! I will not. Even if the segment we go over is a single minute long, it'll be enough to entertain us for a good long while. Going through this entire thing... No, I'll be dead by the end of it. I have a headache. I'm not doing it. Somebody said 3456. Oh, well, I just saw Karl Marx. I feel involved. Let's find out, huh? Here, you know, we'll get a little bit of a run into it, all right? A little bit of a run into it. So, like, maybe a minute before. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. We'll start with Adam and Eve. Is this Adam and Eve? Was this AI generated? Why is this a tomato? In the hair? What's going on here? Why does a snake look like that? I think this is AI. Is that supposed to be the snake head? What is... Okay. Alright. This is a disgrace to God's creation. I'll have you all know. Get the crack pipe out? No. We have to deploy the crack pipe the first time we hear something that warrants it, right? Like, if we do it preemptively, we kind of cheapen. We have to wait for it to go, like, oh, okay, now we're here. Like, we're in the... Right, yeah. Okay. It probably won't take long. I just don't want to pregame. Exactly, Paul. Yeah.
Communism and Rousseau hold that humans are naturally good and oppressive institutions make them bad. Thus,
wow, he's actually... I'm sorry, just right off the bat, he's doing the voice. The actually voice. The like, wow, I can't... Sorry, just... It's very pronounced. Okay.
What ends up happening is the authoritarian ruler claims rule from the people, and since the philosophy designs no mechanism, like a democracy that could actually determine it, it becomes a horrifying autocracy, in which everything the ruler does is justified, because it's somehow the will of the people, but there's no way to...
As opposed to non-communist regimes, who have never had ultimate rulers with complete control. I will actually say this, though. There is something that distinguishes... you know, like Soviet fascism from other forms of authoritarian governance, which is that the Soviet government was completely committed to maintaining the perception and aesthetic of public support in a way that not even Nazis and Hitler did, right? Obviously, all authoritarian rulers need to maintain the image that they're beloved, of course. That's pretty important to the whole smoke and mirrors bit they're putting up there, but the Soviet Union was committed to this in like a uniquely significant way. Yeah, they were married to the illusion. So I would say that authoritarianism isn't about like a lack of consideration for the will of the people. In fact, I would argue you could have an authoritarian repressive government that only does what the people want of it. You might think, well, isn't that democracy if they're only doing what you want of it? Well, the thing is, what people want is kind of constructed socially, right? Like the TV we watch, the messages we hear, the lessons we learn, they shape what we think it means to be alive and what we want in life. So it's possible with manufactured consent for there to be an overlap between authoritarianism and a direct response to the will of the people. You just have to make the people want, you know, what the government wants to do. Or, you know, a better example of this might be you could make the people want an authoritarian government. You could make the people want a strong man. And that's often how fascism happens, right? It's you have like military coups where nobody wants the leader sometimes, but for the most part, it's because people are desperate and they're convinced that they want a strongman. Sorry, we're only going over a small portion, so I'm going to overanalyze every bit of it, thank you. And additionally, we're all going to learn something here, because What If Alt History might be an idiot, but I am not. So I consider his videos to be a nice springboard for nice, interesting discussions. That's what I think.
Actually determine what the will of the people is, except for what the autocrat says. I do honestly think a philosophy is inseparable from the philosopher who made it. You can look at men like Socrates, Jesus, Buddha, or Marcus Aurelius, who are widely considered to be saints in their day, and their worldviews have been successful and respected ever since. Meanwhile, you get...
What? Okay. There we go.
Nietzsche, who argued for masculinity and violence and was a cripple for most of his life. You have to ask if a philosophy is an unhealthy manifestation of a trait that
I don't think you could summarize Nietzsche's philosophy as wanting masculinity and violence. That seems to me to be a kind of ridiculously reductive interpretation of his philosophy. It was more about like will and the will to create your own meaning and define your own lives. It's not really like, okay.
person themselves are apologizing for, and something they haven't actually mastered, and through their inability to master the philosophy, they're incapable of articulating it in a realistic way. This test makes Rousseau and Marx look incredibly bad. Marx was a broke loser for his whole life who refused to hold a job, thus...
Actually, I surmount that Karl Marx being a broke loser who refused to hold a job actually makes him the ideal communist. I mean, he had no money, right? So I would actually argue that he is well and truly living the ideal. Phenomenal stuff. What was that quote that what was it, a British spy who wrote on him? Where they found him in like they took a look at his like apartment, they spied on him, and they were like, his house is disgusting, he sleeps like at any hour of the day, but he's really nice to you when you come over for dinner. Oh, it was a Belgian spy? Okay, gotcha.
Resulting in 2 of his children starving. He was educated, so he totally could have afforded to keep them fed. He cheated on his wife with his maid, who he also did not pay. He wouldn't let his children visit their mother. He was widely known as a cruel and authoritarian person, and even racist.
I haven't heard anything about him being a cruel and authoritarian person. I fully believe he was racist. He was born like 200 years ago, so yeah, I mean, yeah. I'll take that one. Significantly less racist than the people of his day, right? I mean, he was literally writing letters trying to get Lincoln to free the slaves, so...
even for his time, as well as a plagiarist.
Like as opposed to Nietzsche, not a racist, right?
Voltaire was similar, being unwilling to hold the job, committing adultery, letting several of his children die of starvation out of his own laziness. He loved to be spanked by his mother. Why are we letting these...
What the wait, what is going on in this video right now? Holy shit. What is happening here?
losers...
Why did he say it like that? Why did he say it like that?
Who completely abdicated responsibility in their real lives tell us what to think and believe about the world. Why don't we actually follow men we respect? It's pretty remarkable to see how communism went from being the writings of some broke nerd to being a mass religion that ruled 1/3 of the human race in less than a century.
Kind of based, right? Ah, nice. We got the good, the Sino-Soviet Brotherhood propaganda. Hell yeah.
What were the groups that were most interested in Marx's message and were capable of spreading it around the world?
Peasantry and the proletariat, obviously. Do you think he's going to say that it was all, like, unemployed losers in Tsarist Russia?
Some of the choices were pretty obvious, one being the working classes.
Okay,
However, this was not universal. Marxism was popular among the non-property stakeholding working classes. However, in most wealthy industrial countries...
What? Non-property stakeholding... What? What? How many people of the working class 150 years ago were property yeah, like the working okay, like there were okay. Non-property, non-stakeholding, I think. Yeah, that was a difficult sentence to parse. I'm not entirely sure. By the way, whatifalthist was coping about the crack pipe meme a week ago. Really? I'm so tired of how criticism doesn't even touch ideas anymore. The crack pipe is an example. It's a meme Vosh did who uses a millionth the sources I do, and now it's one of my topic criticisms. Same with the only reads pre-1960. Hold on. There we go.
The working classes themselves became property holders and pretty well off. However,
I looked up Marx and his wife/maid, found nothing about cheating, and instead found he wrote love stories and poems for her instead. I don't know, because I don't care. I'm not litigating Marx's personal morality. But it's probably a safe assumption that when What If All History says something, it's wrong. So I wouldn't take anything he said for if you hear something that sounds surprising from him, and it's like, whoa, really? Like, probably not. You know, you can look it up if you want. I don't know.
Unions remain pretty communist on average around the world, since it's inside their self-interest. Hayek, writing the 30s, talked at the elite of the proletariat, or the
king-like hair. This is regal hair, okay? This is regal phrenology.
Often wealthy and powerful union leaders and tradesmen who would often run cities, were quite well off, influenced...
What? Unions ran cities? Then why did the mayors tell the cops to shoot them? No, unions were often powerful in the same way that organized crime bosses are powerful. Not because of institutional support or even necessarily money, but because they have a lot of people in the city who are willing to work with them. Overwhelmingly, union leaders were either rugged working class men or like local, like, you know, you do this favor for me, I do it for you, kind of crime boss types, you know? What's the name of the guy from Disco Elysian? Is it Everarty? That guy. Everard Clare, that's it. Everard Clare. It's this guy, okay? In every city around the turn of the century, there was a guy who looked like this, and he had a plan to free the working men of his city, and it would involve only some graft and murder.
Political parties, but were still technically working class. This was often a bulwark of Marxist leadership on the...
Wait, where do I come in? Did somebody just lie about the timestamp earlier? I mean, we ended up just watching the video anyway. Where am I? It's such a long video. So long.
Continent.
I lied, I'm sorry.
Royal
Rose!
Especially over the last couple decades, that this was not even the strongest group in the Marxist camp. That being intellectuals, professors, or teachers. This group is often quite smart, but lacks courage, discipline...
We used to be a proud civilization, but now our professors are not brave. They're lacking courage and the strength to Bro, go die in a war, man. We just watched him whine about the crack pipe. Yeah, and that made the crack pipe bigger, actually. Oh, we can check the transcript. That's right. See, I'm very egotistical, okay? I just want to see him complain about me. Now we've gotten roped into, like... Okay. No hits for Vosh. What about, like... Because it's a transcript. So, Vaush? Does he say my real name? Okay, well, IAN is, like, a pretty common... Am I even in this video? Was I duped entirely by the multiple people who said I needed to watch this? Did you guys get me? Have I been gotten? I don't think I'm named in here. I do VAU. Nope, nothing. VOW. VASH? I can't believe it. You guys bamboozled me. You guys bamboozled me. Search horsecock? Search debate? Ooh, you're right. You're right. That might be it. That might be it. Oh, wait.
Why when you debate a communist, they'll say you don't understand Marxism or you need to study Marxism more, even if you've read thousands of pages
This
on
isn't
the
a picture of
subject,
me.
as I have, since they believe that once you understand its hidden truth, you will immediately convert. Thus, you really can't understand and disagree with good faith. Both communism and Gnosticism say that they have the real knowledge and make definitions of what is correct knowledge in order to exclude outsiders. Since they do not have real knowledge, this doesn't allow...
That's not me. This is just about how communists know things that he doesn't and he's mad about it. It had to be you. There was a horse in that image. Ah, shit, you're right. Wait, was that me? I thought I saw a picture of myself down here for a second. Nope. Oh, man, you guys tricked me. You goobers. We won't know for sure unless we watch the whole video. I don't want to watch the whole video.
...in poverty. Christianity abolished slavery, developed the principle of bankruptcy, liberated women, and the leaders of the abolitionist, labor, and suffragette movements were all evangelical Christians, not communists.
You should go over this whole vid sometimes, though. It looks like a hoot. No, all What If Alt History videos are the same video. They're all insanely long, and they are all the same amount of, like, incoherent blather. There's no... They're literally just like a vomit. There's no, like, structure to them. He just says stuff. There's no, like, cohesive... This video was called Why Communism is a Failed Religion, and we clicked on a part in the middle, and he was talking about how Nietzsche wanted violence, but he was a hypocrite because he was crippled. Like, it's like spirit science for history.
A pretty apt descriptor of how communists act. One time, there is a communist YouTuber who criticized...
Any, you're so much better than the rabble. You're so much better than the degenerate peasants that occupy my chat.
...me and made a lengthy video doing so, and I wrote down all the criticisms he made of me, such as, this guy does no research, he just says what's on his mind, he's just speaking off the cuff.
Wait, hold on. My primary criticism is that he's retarded. It's the genuine answer. I've said this before, but, like, the actual thing with... So, for those of you who haven't seen the debate, because it was very, very funny to actually have, was he, What If Alt History, held the position that woke social justice movements like Black Lives Matter are bad and harmful, but he didn't seem to hold that position about, like, the civil rights movement or about the abolitionist movement. So, when I talked to him, I wanted to say, like, okay, the abolitionist movement, the civil rights movement, and the modern day Black Lives Matter movements are fundamentally inspired by the same basic beliefs. And you can see this because there's an intellectual through line, right? In terms of the arguments made, the beliefs held, not to mention Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights activists and protesters cited a ton of stuff relating to the history of slavery and its abolition. And a ton of people in Black Lives Matter directly cite the interests of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. literally called for reparations. So it's not like, you know, this is not like complicated stuff. But he rejected all of this. So not only did he reject it in the sense that he disagreed, he got angry that I was saying it and started asking me to cite a book where this is said. And then he got mad at me when I said I didn't have a book. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, you could, like, do a ton of, like, well, this connects to that and this connects to that. I'm not going to lie, though. The statement that I was making is so obvious that I didn't feel like I'd have to prove it. Like, I know that may sound kind of maybe like naive on my part, but I thought that was so obvious that, because, like, you can't prove everything fractally in a convo because otherwise it's just like a kid asking why, always and always. It's like, well, you have to assume they're going to run with some of the stuff you say. Otherwise, like, how can you even, you know, like I say this, that, and he was like, then nothing will happen there. So he got really mad. And then he said, oh, actually, I have a doctor's appointment, so I have to leave randomly in the middle of this convo. And I didn't bring it up beforehand, but I'm leaving now. And then he left. Oh, and the funny thing is, he was so sensitive to the threat of having a real argument that he called me before we had that debate to ask, to like, hey, we're going to be civil, right? Which I genuinely tried to when we actually had the debate. Like, he called like off stream, like, well, I was playing Dark Souls 2. I was doing my Dark Souls 2 soul level 1. I think the lowest you can do is soul level 3 or 4 in Dark Souls 2, actually, but I was doing that. And he called, and I was on the last DLC, and I was dying over and over and over again to the fucking Ivory King, while he was on in my ear being like, you know, yeah, well, we can just like talk. No, I don't want to like do this like bad faith arguing thing, you know. And then we have the debate, and nothing happens. The real problem, the God's honest truth is, I don't actually think what if alt history is stupid, in the sense that like his brain is slow. I don't actually think it's that his brain is slow, because I call people stupid for basically any reason I want. But like, being serious for a second, I don't think it's the brain slow thing. I think the actual thing that's wrong with him is his ego. He's like the ultimate super duper beefed up version of the people who think that they're like gifted kids, so they think they're top shit and they never bother to do any like introspection or critical thinking, because they've presupposed that their education or their intellect supports whatever they say. So he has a bunch of like tidbits of information that he's collected with no synthesis or understanding or analysis. Literally, just like, it'd be like if you just randomly collected quotes from like everything ever said by John Wayne or whatever, and you put it all in your head and you think that together is like knowledge. But in reality, knowledge is analysis. You have information and you need to have a system through which you process it. I was like this at 22. I've been like this in the past. I'm still not perfect when it comes to my ego and my assumptions that I'm like generally right. I do think I'm generally right. I'm not always right. This is just a thing people have to struggle with. Everyone in their life will have times where they are overconfident in their knowledge. But he takes it so far, you know? It's kind of like history mansplaining. Has anyone here ever, you know that feeling you get when you are really into something and you're being condescendingly talked down to by somebody who clearly has just read a tiny bit about it, then made their own conclusions, and then just runs away with it, you know? Not even in a way where like they're interested, but like they now clearly think they're an expert in the subject. And men do this to women all the time. This doesn't happen to me that often because I'm not a woman, so people don't usually infantilize me in that way. But his history channel is him doing that on whatever subject he has at the top of his mind, just to an undifferentiating audience of crypto bros and 12-year-olds, which I assume together comprise everyone who watches him, because only people incredulous enough to get into crypto or young enough to be 12, you know, he's young, stupid enough to be you know, whatever, would go for that kind of stuff. He gets torn apart in the Ask Historians subreddit. There are like these big master posts where people like tear into him. Hold on. Ask Historians Reddit. Oh, and you might think like, oh, isn't it just a Reddit post? You can look at the way they type it up. Oh, is it bad history? Bad history, I think. Bad history. Bad history, Reddit, what if alt hist. You can usually tell a lot. This is why I say that media literacy is more important than what media you're reading or consuming. Because I think if you're good at understanding what like good information and bad information look like, you can do the processing work yourself rather than just like collecting a list of sources that you trust. I just remember on Twitter he was talking about how there are a bunch of like nitpickers and bad faith people in the subreddit. So then I went and looked at every single post people made breaking down his stuff, and they're like the most thorough, high effort refutations I've seen outside of academia, higher than what I've seen in academia in a lot of cases. I feel embarrassed I watched him 2.5 years ago. Hey, I mean, that's fine, right? Like, we all grow. I mean, maybe he won't, but yeah. Anyway, it's really interesting stuff. Throw back to that time, What If Alt History admitted on video his parents were worried he might become a school shooter. What?
I talked about Battle and Knights, and my parents were called in because they're
hey, President Sunday.
worried I might become a school shooter, and that's just normal stuff guys do.
That's not why.
What? He just said that in a video?
Battle and Knights, and my parents were called in because they're worried I might become a school shooter.
And it was fun besides.
In my free time, and I talked about Battle and Knights, and my parents were called in because they're worried I might become a school shooter, and that's just normal stuff guys do.
That's not why. That's not why, Rudyard.
Yeah, I really don't think the concern there was because of, like, talking about knights or whatever. I don't know. Stop being lazy, Vosh. No! I am not covering a tick video on how Hitler was a socialist. He's made this video 7 times, and every time he comes out with it, every single human being with any education on history looks at it and goes, wow, this is stupid. And for some reason, rather than, like, stop or change, he's made this video so many times, over and over again. He's obsessed with this. This has nothing to do with research. Just once, ooh. No, I'm not a historian. Why not leave it to people who can do stuff like that effectively? Critique history. Oh, wait, they did. They've all responded. Tick is a fake history buff. He is ideologically motivated in a way that precludes him from real historical analysis. Also, does he, like, only talk about World War II? Holy shit. Bro, it's like it's the classic, like, yeah, I'm really into military history. Exclusively between 1939 and 1945, you know? Yeah, and I play War Thunder. Yeah. Oh my god. He is like Hitler in the thumb of half his videos. Jesus Christ. Tick's definitions are wrong about socialism. If you just search like social, or here, social, I put a backslash in there. Hitler's socialism, destroying nihilist counterarguments, the real religion behind National Socialism. National Socialism was socialism, rethinking World War II history. Hitler's socialism, the evidence is overwhelming. Getting owned over Hitler's socialism. And a lot of these aren't even in the title. It's like the content of the video is him talking about... Yeah, that video was 4 hours long. Where was it? That one, where was the one giant one that he did that made everyone lose their shit? Is it down the line? Oh, man. It's just... It's at the top? Oh, yep, that's it. The 5-hour video. That was it. This was like the big one that led to... 5 hours. 5 hours. Hitler's socialism, destroying the denial sky. 5 hours. You know that somebody knows they're about to deliver some hot takes when they open by citing all their sources. Watch it all or you're straight. Fine, I'm straight. I hate men now. I already did. Being really interested in World War II alone has more red flags than all the USSR. Yeah. It's definitely like indicative, you know. What were we doing again? Oh, right. He was in the middle of complaining about me. Can we finish this?
He's a narcissist. He uses ad hominems, and all of them were a perfect descriptor of what he did.
Wait, did I ever accuse What If Alt History of using ad hominems? That's my thing. Why would I give him that? That's the cool way of debating. No, I wouldn't give him that. He doesn't use ad homs. He blusters and then starts trying to, like, talk about a book he's read that has nothing to do with the subject. I don't even think I ad hommed him in the discussion much. I tend to be pretty nice until I'm given a reason not to.
To jump off this point, communists have been the group I've argued with that are by far the least intellectually honest. They often go for criticism of their opponents
while showing a Turning Point USA meme circa 2016. That's the frame that he chooses to overlap his claims on the difference in intellectual honesty between himself and communists. A f***ing TP USA meme. Oh my god. Incredible stuff. Okay, well, we did it. That's all I cared about. Literally, I could have seen that bit at the beginning and watched that for 2 minutes, and that would have been it. I would have gone, it's not even enough for a segment. But now it's just this meandering, this, that. What have we even talked about? Ryan Tempest, good luck titling this one. I give you no suggestions. Title it, wow, 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 wow. Title it that. See if that hits in the algorithm. People will love that one.